Hello guys, Cybershroom here. So with E3 approaching, and there's a trip that I'm going to be taking on the 11th coming up, it seems I'm struggling a bit in terms of videos. Well, sometime I gotta sit down and record my predictions for E3 and have that uploaded before the 10th, and I got 2 reviews on the backlog of any editing. There's even a few more things I gotta look at. But today, I don't know exactly why, but I'm going to be talking about Fire Emblem, mainly the cancelled game for the Nintendo 64, Fire Emblem 64, on today's episode of Missing Bits, where I take a look at the cut and removed content to your favorite games. So on some days when I wasn't pulling my hair out this week, I've been relaxing with a bit of Fire Emblem 7 for the Game Boy Advance. Personally my favorite game in the series, with lovable characters, great gameplay, and even had a pretty good soundtrack. To me, this is the Fire Emblem game I can always come back and play. But while playing 7 and thinking about all the Fire Emblem games, it randomly popped in my head that why was there an absence of an N64 game? Because, well, at the time, especially in the 90s, Fire Emblem was at its peak popularity, with like 4 titles on the SNES and 3 on the NES. So it was really weird that the N64 got skipped from having its own line of games. It even made less sense on why the N64 got skipped, because most Nintendo consoles after the Nintendo 64 at least had 2 to 3 Fire Emblem games of their own lined up. Sure, you could make the argument that the Wii U also got skipped in terms of Fire Emblem games, but come on, that was the Wii U. Sure, the N64 wasn't that bad, but it was great on its own. It wasn't no Wii U by any means. So after a bit of looking on the cutting room floor, it all made sense that, well, we didn't get a Fire Emblem 64 game because it was supposed to come out on a Nintendo 64 disk drive. The Nintendo 64 disk drive, a place where games go having a 50-50 shot at getting ported to a cartridge or just getting cancelled. So obviously the game didn't come out, but I really wanted to know what led up to the cancellation of Fire Emblem 64. Well, other than the fact that, once again, it was slated for the Nintendo 64 DD. Well, I guess we would start here. After the release of Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War and the unveiling of the Ultra 64, series director Shozo Kaga was questioned about the next entry in the series, and of course, he claimed if there wasn't a Fire Emblem game, it would just be for the SNES, and he had no plans of bringing the series to the 64. I want to pause this history lesson for a second to bring up a fact that you guys are going to realize with a lot of these cancelled N64 games. If a team says there's nothing planned, you're just going to give it a little bit of time till Shigeru Miyamoto is going to basically force the team to start developing the game by going out to PR and saying, oh, it's already confirmed, and give out false release dates. But to be fair, if Miyamoto didn't go run his trap, I bet there would have been a ton of cut games for the N64 we would never knew about. So yeah, Miyamoto went and claimed there was a Fire Emblem 64 coming in 1998, and surprise, nothing came that year, so it seems Miyamoto was just one of those kids on the school playground that like to start rumors. But a year later, in 1999, after the release of Fire Emblem Farcia 776 for the Super Nintendo, Kaga mentioned that he would like to develop an enhanced port for 776 for the Nintendo 64. However, that never ended up happening because Kaga left Nintendo to go develop games for Sony, including a nice bootleg called Tear Ring Saga. And that, kids, is a story for another day. Oh, I can say so much about that game, but I really want to keep this video short. So following Kaga's departure, Fire Emblem 64 really didn't go anywhere besides the only well-known screenshot that you guys are seeing up on screen and in the thumbnail. There's no other documentary work in the game. So as I mentioned, the game really didn't go anywhere, so it's safe to presume that it was silently cancelled. It is worth saying that what was kept from Fire Emblem 64 that would be used in later games was a few character designs. While not exactly detailed who was carried over and resurrected on Fire Emblem's first Game Boy game, The Binding Blade, I want to say there are a few names that could potentially point us to who was going to be in this N64 game and who wasn't. A few of these names that did get ported over to the GBA game, while the names are exactly the same as some of the in-game counterparts, the designs might not have actually been the same. In fact, these could have been completely different characters that ended up sharing the same name, but a few of these names include Ideen, Eliwood, Boris, Ra, and Ephraim. And there's a few cut names that never ended up getting used in the GBA game and were just left to the N64 game, being Helen, Aaron, and Taki. So with that being all the knowledge we know of the game, that one screenshot, a few character names, and just basic confirmation at one point it was real, I guess that was the short-lived story of Fire Emblem 64. I feel that honestly it wasn't the Nintendo 64 DD that killed the project, unlike a bunch of other N64 games. I feel like there just wasn't much passion or effort put into the project that gave people a reason to finish it. But let's say it would still come out in a Nintendo 64DD, and it would not have a chance to get ported to a cartridge. The N64DD by that time was already viewed as a commercial failure, and it was already about 2 years away from both the GBA and the GameCube releasing, so this console project will probably just be ported to one of those. And yeah, a few character designs saw their way in the Binding Blade, but I can safely say that what we got in Binding Blade had almost nothing to do with the original N64 game. Well, if you guys got any more information regarding Fire Emblem 64 that I don't know of, why don't you comment it down below, and comment for future Missing Bit videos. I always take suggestions. I got social media links and a Patreon in the description that you can check out, and with that all out of the way, I am Cybershoom, hoping you have a good one.